When you enlisted in the war, you knew what you were getting into. You were not going to be a Pokémon trainer. You were going to be a soldier. You knew the risks and what was at stake by doing this. So far, things were just as expected. You've watched men and Pokémon die on both sides. You've survived against the odds and have witnessed things that you couldn't explain. And tonight was more of the same. You could hear the crash of bombs and the self-destruction of electrodes in the distance. Bullets were fired from guns as attacks were launched by artillery. You and Raichu had been in plenty of these battles at this point, so you knew what to expect. That is until you see something flash over behind enemy lines. It wasn't an explosion or a Pokémon using flash, but something else. Whatever caused it took to the sky immediately after. You and Raichu were both caught off guard by the tank that fired at it. Almost immediately after, you watched the same war machine become crushed into shrapnel and blood by that thing. It bolted at you and used to fire with their gun. Raichu released several electrical attacks at this Pokémon, but it was so fast that they mostly missed. As for the ones that hit, well, they didn't appear to have an effect. You had been stationed in this region for quite a while, but you had never seen a Pokémon like this one. With Raichu at your side, you both ran after the Pokémon. The longer you chased after it, the more you started to wonder if this chase was worth it. Death and destruction was evident in this path, with midden-old slashes and slits cutting through both enemy and friends alike. Suddenly, you hear the familiar outcry of an Electabuzz, and once you were close enough to this thing, you stood frozen. You and Raichu could only watch as this beast used its scythe-shaped claw to slice off the arm of the Electabuzz before knocking it away with Dragon Tail. You wanted to be sick from the sight, but Raichu wanted something else. Charging at that monster with the intent of attacking, Raichu charged its tiny paw with electricity to strike with. But once it landed its punch on this new Pokémon, it swiftly grabbed Raichu with its jaw. You felt heartbreak at the cracking crunch of the mouse Pokémon's bones before it too was tossed over the edge. Bursting flames from a nearby explosion brought light to this Pokémon's appearance. Its yellow searing eyes glared at you. Its next victim. You watched as blood drooled from its mouth where teeth was covered in the same substance. At first you assumed it was a Garchomp. Similar head things and figure. The more you stared, the longer the fires consumed everything around you too, the more you realized this was not a Garchomp. This was a nightmare come true. It wasn't a Pokémon, but a monster. A hideous and murderous monster. And the sight of that Pokémon would be the last thing you would ever see.